In the far future, where wars are fought with the might of battle mechs, Without Question tells the tale of Kanji Chistu as he struggles to keep Clan Jade Falcon alive in the occupation zone his predecessor abandoned in her failed bid to conquer Terra. Though it's a sequel to Bryan Young's award-winning novel A Question of Survival, Without Question serves as a perfect on-ramp for anyone interested in jumping into the Ill Clan era and the current Battletech timeline. The new Khan of Clan Jade Falcon has to fight for the very soul of his clan and their stronghold of Sudaten as Clan Hell's Horses invade, and they experience attacks from within and without. With shocking twists and turns, the latest installment of the Battletech mythos will have you hanging on by the edge of your seat. Releasing May 15th, Without Question is available for pre-order now, and you won't want to miss it.
Hey everyone, welcome to Tuesday Newsday. Back on Tuesday, but at a different time, because chaos. I knew this was going to come with the travel schedule, but hey. Thank you for being here, Bryan. Good to see you.
Likewise, it's been a little while. It seemed like I'd seen nothing but all of you, like for those weeks in Chicago, and now all of a sudden it's just like occasionally like this. So it's nice.
Yeah, for sure. And lots of Discord talking with the videos you've been working on. So we'll
Yeah.
get into all that. But it's time for announcements like usual. So in all honesty, for our wonderful chatters here, thank you for joining us. I am traveling. I have been traveling for about a week. Tyler also, once getting the list off to QML, has taken a few days off, as he very, very much deserves. I see some questions popping up about credits and shipping and stuff like that. And there's, I haven't talked to anyone, so I don't have much for you. But I will pass on your information to Tyler, and once he's back to work, he'll get all of that answered for you. So, thank you all for being here. I need to pull up my script because I don't remember what I'm talking about today. I never do without the thing. So many of you probably saw in the first ad that we put out today with the video was the Snoop Cereals ad. So Bryan is all to thank for this. I've talked a lot on this channel about how chaotic things can be in the gaming industry, and so last night I got a call from Lauren saying, "Hey, Mike Ritchie and I made it to the Vegas Licensing Expo. And since we have this partnership with Snoop Dogg and Master P that we've been talking about for a while, they have a booth there, and apparently there's a big screen." And they were like, "Oh yeah, send us an ad and we'll play it for you all during the event." And so Lauren's like, "Hey, make me an ad within 12 hours." So I got all the assets. I called Bryan, who was at a premiere,
Yeah,
and was like,
I went and saw Furiosa last night and got a
"Ooh."
call right as I was walking into the theater, like, "Can you make a video tonight?" It's like, maybe.
Well, thank you so much for getting that done. It's really cool that that's going to be playing at the Licensing Expo in Vegas, and is going to be, I think like last year, Master P was there and was super excited about the game and everything. So he'll be hyping it up too. Whew. Awesome. So that was really exciting and chaotic for last night. And then, I keep clicking. I have one screen when I'm traveling. I have three when I'm home. And so I don't have what I need pulled up at all times. Uh, so our agenda then is I wanted to talk a little bit about Chupacabracon in Austin. It was a lot of fun. It was Russell Zimmerman, who's on the board for it, and Phil Lee, and myself. And Phil and I were special guests, and it was a lot of fun. I did a panel with two other industry professionals on crowdfunding. And that was really well received. There's a lot to say. And then we did a panel with me, Russell, and Phil about just Catalyst questions, like whatever Q&A people wanted, and it was a lot about writing and how to break into the industry and stuff like that. So that was really neat. And then we played a version of Masters and Minions called Champions and Chupacabras. And it was each of us versus 2 players. And they got to keep the painted minis at the end. It was a lot of fun. We all lost horrifically. I think Rusty lost 3 mechs in 1 round. I held out. I held out till the very bitter end, and then my poor rifleman was left alone with all the big chonkos. So, but he went down in a blaze of glory, and it was a lot of fun. So, really recommend Chupacabracon to those in Texas or willing to travel. A couple other industry guests were there. Kenneth Haidt, who I adore. He is kind of a personality. He does a podcast. Ken and Robin talk about stuff. And he is the creator of Night's Black Agent and a ton of other things. But I love Night's Black Agent. So it was good to see him. Chaosium was there, so lots of Cthulhu. The logo for their mascot changes every year, and this year it was him as a Cthulhu type character. So it was a lot of fun. I really recommend it. You should go check it out. They're still finding a place that is going to be help them grow because they kind of maxed out their first spot. So this spot they were able to grow a bit, and I look forward to seeing what they can do. What else do we
It looks
have?
like you guys had a lot of fun there.
Yeah, it was a blast. And I got to know Phil a little bit better and hear some of Phil's stories, and they're pretty great. There is a story. I got to see one of the Texas 4-inch cockroaches at IHOP after we finished eating. I have a sciatic nerve injury, guys, and I sprinted out of that that like theory that if you ever meet a bear, you just need to run faster than your friends. I left Phil and Jake back to die. Like I was having none of that. So that was horrific, and I'm looking forward to repressing that memory. Thanks, Texas.
I can't. Yeah, that's Texas for you.
Apparently they fly too. I didn't see that, which is good because I would need some therapy after, I think. All right. What else? We have if you haven't checked it out, the Shadowrun actual play World of Shadows on Six Sides of Gaming's. I'm GMing it. We've got some industry pros. We've got Tommy Gofton and Devin Wilson. We've got Elisa Teague and KP from KP11 Studios, who does a lot of photography at events. And it's been a lot of fun. They're only hour-long episodes. We're playing 6th edition, and I think the last time I checked, it's been a couple weeks since I checked, but there were already over 12,000 views of episode 1 on YouTube. So that was awesome. So you guys should check it out. A lot of fun. And then my last, no, I have one more announcement after this because I forgot I was going to give you guys a little teaser since I don't have much news today. So friend of Catalyst and prolific sci-fi fantasy writer Kevin J. Anderson has 2 days left on his Kickstarter. So he's doing anthologies of short stories. You can get the fantasy, the sci-fi, or the horror, or all of them. And it's basically, it's a ton of short stories. He has an intro to each of the short stories that kind of tells like what inspired it and what was his writing process and stuff like that for every single one. And it's done great. It's over $64,000 now. This is his biggest one ever. And it's going well. He's stoked. And if you don't know, he's one half of the current writing team for all the Dune books. He's a script consultant on the movies now. He's written for X-Files, Twilight Zone. Like So many big things. So you should check them out. 2 days left. I'll drop that. The link is in the description, but I'll drop it in the chat too. Whee! All right. Cool. So the next thing I wanted to do before I get to you, Bryan, is and you're gonna have to practice your acting chops for this because there's a delay on YouTube and you can't see what's on my screen. But
Hey,
I teased last week that I've been designing. I've been working with Fanroll, who's been fantastic working with us. They're so excited to work with us. They've done. They are doing all the dice for the Mercenaries Kickstarter. Um, and they've worked with like Pathfinder and so many others. So they approached us about what we want to have at Gencon, and so I kind of took it on myself to have dice trays and a nice fancy dice set for Gencon for the 40th anniversary for BattleTech and the 35th for Shadowrun. So I'm gonna show you guys our mock-ups that were sent to us. So this is going to be our 40th anniversary BattleTech dice tray premiering at Gencon. Boop! Ooh, this is where you act, Bryan. Ooh.
oh, that's amazing. I like those. I've got the hoodie with that on it, and
Yeah.
I really like it.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited. In addition to the dice tray, you can get the BattleTech dice set. So this is in like a little leatherette case, and I'll just show it to you and let it speak for itself. Boop.
Ah,
Ooh. So you've got the 40th logo on the top. You've got the Atlas head dice in red, white, and black. The only change I requested, and I don't have a new image for it, is the white ones are going to have the Atlas head outlined in black so that they show up a little bit better. But I'm really excited about this set. They're really pretty, and I like the case that comes with it too.
these are going to be at Gen Con.
Yes.
Does that mean they're convention exclusives, or will they be available for folks later?
So I was just asked by Neil about the quantities. Neil is the owner of Fanroll, and I suggested that they'll be available after, so we're gonna get enough quantity to get us through Gen Con and beyond. Now, in case if this is still a conversation that's happening in our chat, so if I'm overruled, I'll have to let you guys know. But I think that it should be released at Gen Con and then available at our online store. All right. Then from there, I have more. But wait, there's more. I don't want to forget about Shadowrun. Here's their dice tray. It is offensively bright, as cyberpunk should be, and is my style. I love it. So we've got the fuchsia of 6th edition with the purple dice tray outside, fuchsia inside, and the orange 35th anniversary logo. Can't wait for this. And then we also have, I'm pretty excited for this. So this set, I'll give you the updates on what's changing, but boop. This set is going to have the 35th anniversary logo on top and have that little fold out box. There's going to be 12 dice instead of 15 because I requested 2 different colors. So they show up in that like white with pink that's in the box. But it comes with a black light flashlight, and then it's going to turn vibrant. So I got the purple, and then I think it turns into if I'm remembering correctly, which ones I asked for. I think it's that purple, and then we also have a teal to match the lettering from the Shadowrun logo. So yeah, I'm really excited for these.
I was going to say,
go ahead.
I'm really glad there's more dice in the Shadowrun box because otherwise that would have been like a fourth of a roll.
Right? I'm pretty excited. I can't wait to have all of these dice trays and sets. The ones that came out last year, I like, but they're a little busy for me for Shadowrun. So I like that we're just going vibrant and glowy and stuff like that. I think it demonstrates the vibe. All right, that's all my news. So I don't even know if I'm supposed to show you guys mock-ups, but I was like, I'm missing stuff to show off for today or talk about because I haven't been to a meeting in over a week. So yeah, that's my news. I want to kick it over to Bryan now. Hi, Bryan.
Hello.
So you had a release last week for Without Question.
Yeah. Battletech Without Question is the newest book in the fiction line, and it came out on the 15th, and it's in print and available by ebook wherever you buy books. And it's been going really well. The feedback I've been getting has been really terrific from folks who've read the book. Um, and I'm really excited for the book to be out there. I've been sitting on all of the twists and turns inside this book for the next step of the Jade Falcons in the Ill Clan era for well over a year. And so it's been so hard to just keep my mouth shut about it. Now we can talk about it and people know about it. And there's things that happened or Easter eggs I put in there that people are messaging me about now. And it's like, yes, I'm glad people are finally getting to see it. It's really exciting.
Awesome. Yeah, I want to talk a little bit about the book and everything, but one of the things I want to shout out too is getting to talk to you at Adepticon and KerenskyCon. Um, we kind of talked about the challenges with marketing in that, like I say a lot, that I have more than marketing as a job. And so I don't get to put as much time into it as I would like. And you were so excited to help, which meant a lot. So we were actually able to do marketing starting 2 months in advance, or almost 2 months in advance, uh, for Without Question. So we were able to do, release the cover, release the pre-order link before, the week of. We were able to do the videos that you created and get those out there and run ads for them. So I'm really excited to do a comparison on this book with some of our other releases and see how growth has been and make this more of a priority for Catalyst to do in the future. So thank you for that.
Yeah, no, it's my pleasure. I really love doing this kind of stuff and getting the word out generally. PR and communications was my previous day job before I stepped into full-time creative work. And I thought that, Battletech is huge and the fiction is sort of it used to be a much larger part of the conversation and, doing what we can to market not just myself but like all the upcoming releases where we can is really just getting the word out and growing Battletech in a really great way. And the more folks who are in Battletech, I think the better for everybody.
Mm-hmm. Agree. So tell me a little bit about Without Question. Is this a standalone novel? Is this part of a series? Tell me everything.
Uh, yes and no. So Without Question picks up after the events of my previous novel in the Ill Clan era, which we sort of call the this area is called the Hinterlands, which people seem to be really into. The story basically follows the remnants of the Jade Falcons after the events of Hour of the Wolf. The Jade Falcons were pretty well decimated, and those that were on Terra were folded into the Clan Wolf. So those that had been left behind didn't hear about this, have no idea what's going on Terra, and they've just sort of been clawing to survive. The first book in A Question of Survival kind of introduced us to a lot of those characters and showed us one of their first big gambits for survival. But this book really takes us to that next level. And not only are they working to survive, but they're really battling over for what the soul of the Jade Falcons is. Like, what does it mean to be a Jade Falcon? And what does it mean to be a Jade Falcon in the Ill Clan era after 100 years of being in the inner sphere? And what does that pendulum swing like after they've been, led by someone like Malvina Hazen, who was a really, really brutal leader who would lay waste to cities and kill her own people if it meant her victory. And so, how do they grapple with their reputation when they're trying to be something else now? And so, those questions are sort of answered over the course of this book. Plus, there's a lot of big mech battles. I don't think it's any secret or a spoiler to say that the first, maybe quarter of this book is really the Hell's Horses invasion of Sudetan, which is where these falcons are located. And it was documented from the horse's perspective in Craig Reed's Elements of Treason Honor novel. And it was documented sort of from the 30,000-foot view in Tamar Rising. But once we get out of that first fourth of the book, everything is wide open. It hasn't been in a source book before. And there are a lot of surprises and twists and turns that I'm not sure people are expecting or ready for. But as I've been hearing people reading the book and messaging me on Twitter or Discord or Facebook or wherever, it's taken them by surprise in mostly good ways, I think.
Awesome. Awesome. Cool. So,
To,
go ahead.
to answer the other part of your question that I think I sort of skipped over, though, is that is it a standalone or part of a series? I think it stands as a standalone. If you're interested in Jade Falcons and know sort of the general disposition of the universe, you could jump right in with this, but it does build on a lot of work over the last 10 years of Battletech storytelling. So if you're keeping up with stuff, there's definitely layers to it that you're going to notice that maybe someone reading this as a standalone isn't. But if you're reading it as a standalone, I really tried to make it accessible if this is your first introduction to Battletech. So
Great. Awesome. Thank you. So what is the process? A peek behind the curtain. I know sometimes you write a book and it doesn't come out for quite a while. What is the process of getting assigned a book from beginning of assignment to release? What does that process look like?
So this book was something that we had talked in the creative summit last year. Myself and Mike Stackpole and Randall and Lauren and Phil Lee and Jason Schmetzer and Michael Ciravella and Bryn Bills and a couple of other people. We all got together and we sort of mapped out, and Ray and Aaron, the line developers, obviously, sort of mapped out the next couple of years, the next few years of what we wanted stories to be. And the Jade Falcons were something that A Question of Survival had already come out, and people were asking like, what happens next with these folks? What happens to the next? What's the next step? And so when we left that, there was another book I was going to work on, and it sort of got and it was on the schedule, and it got shrunk to a novella. And John said, "Well, like this is the book we could slot in to replace that." And so the process was me writing a synopsis of what I thought should happen based on our summit meetings and sort of the direction of the universe, sending that to John and Ray. John Helfer's the fiction editor, and Ray Arastia, the line developer. And they made notes, and some of the fact check guys made notes, and they send those back, and I do a revision on the synopsis, and then they give it a thumbs up, and I start writing. And that's really how it goes. And then the process goes through a lot of revision. There's a Catherine Monasterio is the developmental editor that I usually work with, and she's sort of usually the first person who sees it. And we go through and fix a lot of the story and character problems, and then it goes to fact check and John Helfers and the line developers, and they give all their notes on it, and we punch up everything from there. So it can be quite a long process, and there can be quite a long lag between me turning in a draft and getting notes or whatever. But generally, just knowing where the universe is heading and what things that need to be set up for the future that you might not even realize are seeded in the book really helps with all of that. But for this one, being past the events of the source books, it was much easier to kind of have my own direction on things and see if they were going to go for some of the swings I was going to take. And because we ended in a place that we needed to be for the future of the uh, the inner sphere and the hinterlands, everybody was good with it, and I think it turned out pretty well, and definitely it turned out well thanks to the work of the other authors whose work I was able to build upon, because there's a lot of characters and threads that come from a lot of different places, and the work of the editors and the line developers, they really care about the universe and are working really hard to make sure all of this stuff matches up and is the best possible BattleTech experience. So they take my writing and then they elevate it above where it could be, because um, they just have that 30,000 foot view that sometimes you lose when you're writing the book that close, and that when you're that close to it.
Yeah. Cool. Awesome. It's neat to get a peek behind the curtain on how the process works, and it's interesting how you bring up the threads, and gosh, that's got to be a lot to keep track of in terms of what can you or can't you use, what was an intentional thread versus what wasn't and is now. So communication has to be a challenge between all of the authors. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, it's been really fun being able to communicate with most of the other authors that have worked on stuff and to be able to ask questions. For the most part, talking to like Michael Ciravella and how this could possibly affect stuff going on with Trial of Birthright, which is his book on Terra, and or the other creatives or the line developers or whoever. It's a really collaborative environment now. I felt a little siloed originally when was working on my first book, but I think part of that was just me not knowing anybody. But the more we do conventions together, the more we do these creative summits, the better relationship the team has, and we're all a lot better about like trading those notes and things. And sometimes I'll get Ray suggested there's a planet where a lot of stuff takes place, and without question, and in my proposal it was just like, you need to pick a planet that I can set this stuff on, and he gave me Antares. And researching it, finding out where Antares had been used, all of a sudden I'm reading three other books to make sure my details about Antares are working with it, or things like that. You know what I mean? So I did go through Antares as somewhere where Malvina Hazen had done some really terrible things. And there were some details from Victor Milan's book that really made their way and helped establish the book. So it's tons of reading, right? Like anytime I go down a rabbit hole, it seems like I've got another book to read. For example, there's a short story I wrote for a collection that hasn't come out yet, and I pitched the story thinking that it would take the least amount of work, but I think I did more reading per printed word on that one short story than I have for any other, BattleTech story, because it was just like, oh, I accidentally walked into a minefield. Here's the, three books you've got to read, and here's the stories, and here's the background and everything. And it was, I try to keep all that stuff straight, and doing my best to become a better BattleTech expert every time I take a bite of the apple.
The other thing that you've been working on recently is the new shorts that have been released on our YouTube page. You had already had some in the can. Can you tell us a little bit about how that side came up before you and I started working together?
Yeah, my previous day job was making videos and production of this sort of stuff in a totally different context. But when I had mentioned to John, I think we could be doing a lot better in marketing the books, and how we could be doing, how Catalyst could be leveraging its YouTube channel and things better. Um, Especially, there tends to be a lot of noise on YouTube, and YouTube, I think people forget, is the second largest search engine in the world. And so if you're not putting stuff out on YouTube, people aren't going to be able to find you, and they're going to find stuff that's probably not as good for the
Yeah.
brand or whatever. So I wanted to do some of that stuff, but do it in shorter pieces. There's so many people who want to get into BattleTech, but they need bite-sized stuff to walk them into it rather than anything else. And we decided to do a trial run of those mech videos where we kind of took it all the classes of mechs, and I wrote the scripts and sent them through fact check, and we went through some iterations of the video, and we weren't quite sure where we were going to use them until you and I talked, and we were like, why aren't we? And I'd made the book trailers not just for Fox Tales and Without Question, but there's another one that's coming up just as proofs of concept to show like we could be doing it. It seems like they've been doing really well, and I just love doing them. I write them, I voice them, I edit them, I do all the animation for them. I mean, the only thing I'm really not doing is the art because Catalyst has such a great stable of artists. Like, also, I'm a terrible artist, so I couldn't draw like these mechs. If I were providing the art for these videos, the mechs would just be little stick figures,
Oh
or
no.
they would be little stop motion of me with the mechs, like playing with them like Spaceballs or something.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, I've really been appreciating the little bite-sized intros to the world that you've been doing with the light mechs. I think light and medium have released. We still have
Yeah, yeah,
heavy, assault, and omni coming that you've done already. And
yeah.
then in terms of book ads and the future of these, I want to keep the momentum going. So Brian and I have talked about how to incorporate and get some of these going for in time with some of the releases, and we do want to go backwards too. Like I'd like to get some of the releases from this year, or even some of the older stuff, so that we can have a fresh round of promotion and sales for it. But I know, like, we're already Michael's book. It's Trial by Birthright, right?
I love Birthright. Yeah.
Trial of Birthright, right? So I know we've talked about getting ahead of that so that we can promote it a month out at least from its release in July. Um, but we've also talked about doing, Shadowrun and the new board games that are coming out. And we've talked about, in terms of Battletech, maybe getting into the clans, or talking about a mech that was just released, like the Mad Dog Premium Mini, and going into a little bit of detail about that. So I'm excited for how much content there is. It's just picking what and
Yeah.
why to do which ones when. But it's been really cool working with you on that. What are your thoughts about how they've been going?
Think they've been really fun. I really enjoy doing this kind of stuff, and it's nice to exercise different muscles than just working on text, right? Like my background is as a filmmaker, and so and as a documentary filmmaker too. So like it sort of scratches a different creative itch than writing the books. I mean, I much prefer if my life were perfect, I would just get to make narrative films and write books, but we live in a society where you need money to eat. So I'll do other things, and these are things I really enjoy and love doing. So
Awesome.
it's been a lot of fun.
Awesome. Well, I do want to switch over to questions pretty soon here, because I do have to end about 5 minutes early so I can check out of my hotel room before I get yelled at. So, anything else you want to say about Without Question, or writing, or these vids, or anything in general?
I would say I think it would be fun to give people an update that like we're Mike Stackpole and I are working really hard on the comics. The graphic novels are going really well, and we've got a really cool story to tell, and I'm really excited for that. But I don't know, maybe that's going to be years out, but I don't think it's going to be years out, but it feels like it from this point. But no, I think it's going really well, and it's really fun, and I'm really excited for people.
Awesome.
I just I'm in that mode where it's like Without Question is I've written another book and a half since Without Question, so I just feel like it's so far away. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Awesome. All right, let's switch over to questions. Um, let's see here. I might have to scroll through, so you're gonna have to give me a moment or several. Ute memes, Ute meme is YouTube meme is, I think, is the goal. I'm not sure. There is a subscription to BattleTech Shrapnel magazine. That is the physical versions of the magazine. Oh, it's a question. So, I actually heard this question came up at Chupa when I was with Phil, and he said the difficulty of that is the inventory, is the shipping, is the pricing. One of the things that comes up repeatedly about books and the time we live in, is prices have been increasing for both shipping and for print. Um, and if you remember paying $9.99 for a book, that's what you want to pay for a book forever. And so it kind of feels like we're a damned if we do, damned if we don't, where we could do it, but the prices are going to be higher. Um, and then people are going to be mad about that too. So I know we do bring fiction to the cons, so there's like a small amount of physical product, and it's something that I do want to bring up as a potential game plan for the future of how do we deal with asks like this, because I think there is value there, but not at this time is my answer to that. Oh, Dave, Snoop board game. Yeah, so Snoop board game. So Snoop Dogg has a contract. It's been for a while now with Post Cereals. For Snoop cereals. So like you can go to the grocery store and get like see these characters from the video on boxes basically. And so he he and his people, which includes Master P, as some kind of like a agent or manager for this project, had reached out to Catalyst about turning this artwork and this promotion into a board game, card game, tile game thing. And it's coming to Kickstarter in late summer. So yeah, you can check out the link. I'll drop that in chat as well. I just sent it to you, Bryan, last night, so let me go find it. Um, it's bit.ly/Snoop Cereal. I'm going to drop that in chat right now so you can follow the project and get notified on launch. But that's what that is. Let's see, what else do we have? Are we buying or selling at the licensing expo? We are potentially buying. We are looking to buy. So it's last year was really cool. The stories that I heard, because there's just a lot of opportunity for partnership with some big licensing names. There are a couple in the pipe that we can't talk about yet, that are agreements. But there's going to be like there's one of the things like we're so grateful to the Mercenaries Kickstarter for is it gives us an opportunity to invest and expand and stuff like that. So I think there's a lot coming, and who knows what this weekend will bring with Lauren and Mike Ritchie there. So it's a good place to be in. Um, let's see. Lots of compliments on Without Question, Bryan.
Yeah, it seems like the people who are reading it are really enjoying it, and I'm really grateful for that.
Awesome. As a person mostly on the BattleTech side of things, this is from Jessica Stebbs. Where would y'all recommend starting if I wanted to pick up Shadowrun? I think some people commented as well. The beginner box is a great first taste at it with quick start rules to see if it's up your alley or your player's alley. The Sixth World Core rulebook is currently on the Berlin City Edition, so it's got a Berlin primer in the back. That's your base to get started in terms of GMing. Like I've been rereading it a lot this year because of running games for the Six Sides of Gaming thing, for the San Diego Comic Con, thing we did last year, and I learned something I forgot about or didn't know every time I read it. There's so much in there. In terms of lore, uh, gosh, there's just so much. I really like.
There's,
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say there's a novella called Mercy Street that I wrote that I think would be like natural.
Awesome.
No, it's interesting. My introduction to the Shadowrun lore was the Super Nintendo game, which was so fun, and it kind of matches how the Harebrained Scheme games work. But then the novels, I think I've read so many novels, like and Rusty Zimmerman's work there is really good. But I don't know, where would you start people with the lore?
I'm trying to think of some of the first ones I've read. I know that I haven't read Rusty's yet, and that's the Jimmy Kincaid series, and it's very detective noir style, so that can get you into it. I think one of my first was Borrowed Time by R.L. King. I was like Steele, that's wrong. And that was an Australian, like middle of nowhere, outback, mana storms, magic artifacts, kind of stuff. I also really like one of my favorites is actually Dark Resonance by Phaedra Weldon. Because for me, like even now, I computers to me are like I'm like mine's angry. Um, so I don't have a great like science mind when it comes to technology, and it did a really great job of explaining like technomancers and deckers and the options that you have to run in. I was really able to visualize that better. So I really like that book. Jennifer Brozak, I love Makeda Red. It's like a train, middle of nowhere breakdown, navigate this area. So it's a that's a great book. Trying to think what else. Yeah, I like a lot of the novellas are really great starts so that you can get a bunch of stories in short all at once and really get a feel for Shadowrun.
In the chat, RJ Thomas, who's the new Shadowrun line developer, said that all of the core campaign and lore books have at least 2 pieces of fiction in them. So those are really great at giving you a snapshot of what the Sixth World is like, and that's absolutely correct.
Cool. Delaney Anderson says, so with the patch, how do we get one if they do not come to our area? If there's something else if there's an event that Catalyst is coming to that Randall or Ray are not, which I know Ray's schedule has not been finalized yet for the second half of the year, so maybe there will be one in your area because they're really trying to spread out as much as possible. But if not, you can see about getting to an event with someone else. I had a couple people at Chupacabracon because I know we're not in the South too much. That came up and shook my hand, and I pretended to be Randall, so I, had no facial expression and put my hair under my chin as a beard and stuff like that. So I said I'd try to I'd get one mailed to them. So we'll make do if there's something that we can do. But try to get to one of those events and keep an eye on their schedule because more is popping up.
Reminds me, and I should ask you. I should ask you later. I'm doing some events for Without Question at some of the local stores around my area. Maybe I can get some of those patches to get to folks. But no, May 31st, June 1st, and June 7th, and I think maybe June 8th as well. We're doing some like combination reading, signing, and game demos, like just to play BattleTech in stores around all across Utah, actually. So if you're anywhere near Utah, do that, and I'll see if I can shake Randall or Rem down to get some of those patches too to hand out to folks. But I'll have even if there's not patches, I made stickers of the Fox Patrol unit logo and stickers of the Without Question book cover. So I'll have those to give to people.
Awesome. And how do we get the tray and the dice? So they're going to release at Gen Con. I am pushing to try to get those to be put online once they get shipped back from Gen Con to the warehouse. But that's still in conversations. What else? Yeah, I made the dice tray a hex. They gave us a square one as an option, and I was like, it's got to be a hex. I believe they're the 12 millimeter. They're the standard. They're not the chonkos. What else? Are you guys gonna have these sets at other cons like Gamehole Con? I would like to. Again, if we can get it beyond Gen Con, which I don't see why we wouldn't. I know we're gonna be at Gamehole Con with our first booth there and like a lounge area, and I would love to have some of these there. Let's see. We've got. Oh, thanks. Yeah, I did an interview with WolfNet that I guess just dropped. No, thank you. They're waiting to clean my room for checkout. So yeah, I got to talk to WolfNet for a while, and that was a lot of fun. So you should check it out. What else? No, thank you. I have 10 minutes. All right. What else? That's why I have to check. I have to wrap up in 5 minutes, guys. um, see if there's anything else I can find here. Big Red asked, what was my favorite part of Without Question? I haven't had a chance to read it yet. It's been out for a whole week and I was at a con, so I need to get on it, but I have not yet. Also, I prefer physical books, so I would like to get a physical copy to read. Because then I put them on my bookshelf and I like the texture and feel and smell of books. So let's see. Anything else I can get to? I like some of these comments. They're fun.
There was one question for me down toward the bottom asking about the hardest part of writing a sequel.
Ooh.
And I think part of it was just getting the details right. And having to go back and reread the previous book to make sure that there was a continuity of character and situation. But I mean, that's the same with any Battletech book. It was actually kind of easier because I was already in the voice of the characters and knew how they were acting, and I don't want to say it wrote itself because it was still a lot of hard work that I had to do, but it felt easier that this book was written a lot more swiftly than A Question of Survival. And I think part of it is that it was a sequel, and the other part of it is I've just done so much more in Battletech that I feel like I've gotten my sea legs or my mech legs, as it were, in the universe a little bit better.
Awesome. All right, guys, I made it to the bottom, and I think I've answered questions. So thank you guys so much for joining. I'm gonna hop off since I'm being harassed to leave and get now the phone is ringing. So they really want me to go now. So, but thank you guys so much for joining. Thank you, Bryan. I really appreciate you. I love getting a chance to talk to you anytime I can.
Yeah, no, likewise. Thanks for having me, and we'll do this again on the Reddit AMA tomorrow.
Yeah, yeah. When is that?
So the Reddit AMA tomorrow is, I think, noon Eastern. I'm not sure. And then we're doing a Discord one on Friday, and then I'll be on Big Red's stream Saturday.
Cool. Awesome. All right. Well, we'll see you there. Thank you all for joining, and we'll see you next week for another Tuesday Newsday. Bye.